Yes. All right. Welcome. This is the Red Wheelbarrow Poetry Collective. We are here for Maneo Mohale and Kopano Maroga in a joint dance of poetry, friendship, and queerness. And I just know it's going to be incredible. I'm not going to waste any time telling you who they are. They are going to show you who they are very soon. So over to you two. The floor is all yours.
Gorgeous. Thank you so
Uh,
much, Melissa.
yeah, firstly, that poem was so beautiful. So thank you. Um, yeah. And so,
Mm,
yes, I feel like it opens up in the right cadence, just on the right note.
mm.
So, yeah. Chomi,
In
do you
full
want to do the
agreement.
trigger warnings? Do you want to do the content warnings? Do you want to do the welcome?
Listen, content warning, trigger warning, everything. But yes, hello, beautiful people. Thanks again to the Red Wheelbarrow Collective for inviting us. And a big thank you to Jacques for the patience. I'm currently recovering from a burnout, so communication with me via email is quite something. So this has been like a year in the making. So thank you so much, Jacques, for the patience, and big thank you as well to my daddy, Manel, for helping me hold and construct this. Yeah, I don't have the words, I'll never have the words, but I'm full of words, and I love you, I adore you, and thank you. Um, so Jacques had invited me to do a little session, and Manel and I, we've been having conversations for a really long time. We're collaborators in different ways, weaving in and each other's kind of like head spaces and making spaces. Um, and somehow it seemed natural to continue the conversations that we've been having in this kind of setting and see what emerges from that. And also because our poetry collections are in such deep conversation with each other in a way that like continues to surprise us over time. Like we were having like a conversation, I think yesterday or a few days ago, and it had been a while since I'd read Manuel's work because I'd read it a few years ago to write a review, and I knew them, and I was like, ah, amazing, I love this person. Um, and then I'd read it again for because I was reading them for something that I was teaching at somewhere in Belgium, and over that period and over those years, like our relationship had been thickening. And so when I read it again for the for this reading, when I read the collection again, I was like, damn, I really there's certain things that came to light that I wasn't necessarily aware of before, which was yeah, it was a really beautiful testament to how intimacy can mature over time, right? And to the intimacy
Mm.
that one can have with the text can mature over time. So this is a bit of a testament to that, the way that our intimacy has matured over time, the things that have been percolating for us as writers. Do you want to add to that, Mana?
I think the only thing that I want to add to that is that Kopano Maroga is a genius, and I was able to really reconnect with just how um how giving and how generous and how provocative and how subversive this book, this first offering, Jesus Thesis, and other critical fabulations. And also, firstly, we have such wordy titles for our firstborn children. Just like, wow.
The
Okay.
girls come from the academy. You can hear,
They
like,
really
why
do.
is the title of the collection a thesis title, an entire thesis title? But carry on. Take us
Okay,
further.
no, and I have to go. Everything is a deadly. Do you understand? Okay. Um, but I think the only other layer on top of this beautiful introduction that Gopana did of both of our work is just I love how poetry echoes over time and how poetry thickens over time. And so many of our poems are companion pieces and siblings. And it's I think I'm excited for the old and the new work to touch each other like this, as we're maturing and as we're venturing into new work and shedding new skins and adopting new skins. So that's the only thing I want to say, Chumi. And also, in the way that we always preface both of our work deals quite explicitly and also obliquely, but very explicitly, with trauma, specifically with gendered violence, uh, with sexual violence as well. So please take care of yourself and breathe and stretch and do whatever you need to do, especially your body. Just, you know, I love Zoom readings because we get to do whatever we need to do in our homes. So please feel free to do that. On camera, off, do a stretch, get some tea, as Kopano and I flirt throughout the next session. So, yeah,
Thanks,
okay.
man.
Of
So
course, my pleasure.
maybe there's a quote that I want to start with from this book by Christina Sharp, In the Wake, on Blackness and Being. And the reason I want to start with it is because Maneo and my work is highly autobiographical, and this is something that sometimes I have not trouble with this, but I think about the potential problematics of intense subjectivity. So like how can we use or how can we think about our stories in connection to a broader narrative or in connection to a collectivist society, etc. And in reading this book, Christina Sharp says something that really encapsulates why autobiographical work can be so powerful. So she says the autobiographical example, says Sadia Hartman, is not a personal story that folds onto itself. It's not about navel gazing. It's really about trying to look at historical and social process and one's own formation as a window onto social and historical processes, as an example of them. And like Hartman, I include the personal here to tell a story capable of engaging and countering the violence of abstraction. And I just find that a beautiful framing for the work that I think we're both trying to do by trying to like stretch the narratives of our own lived experiences and use them as a window, but also as a life raft, as a hand from a river to touch another hand that can touch another hand that can touch another hand that can touch another hand. To say that we have materiality, we're here, your experiences are not singular, but that doesn't mean that you're not special, but it means that you're connected to this kind of strange arrangement that we might call family or the human race, or I don't know what we call it, but this strange arrangement of social collectivity. Um, yeah, so that was something that I wanted to add. And Manel, I know we spoke yesterday about a particular verse that you also wanted to.
Just
So
to open. Yes,
can you
fantastic.
just
Okay.
thank you.
Also, something that I've realized that Kopano's work does quite explicitly is just work with the Bible as material. And I think it's something that I have flirted with, but I'm only now really leaning into blasphemy. So the text that I wanted to open with is by a writer that I love so much and who I call my daddy, um, Brandon Taylor, and he wrote this fantastic short collection called Filthy Animals. But the quotation that I want to open up with actually comes from the Bible, and it's John 15, verse 19. Really simple. It's, if you were of the world would love you as its own. I really love that. I think mostly because it reminds me of bell Hooks's idea and definition of queerness, that queerness is really about a self at odds with the world, less about who it is that you're fucking or not fucking. But I think getting to the heart of otherness, but otherness so far outside of the world. Anyway, I think it should be time for poetry. And one of the first things that Kopano and I spoke about as a way to open this is to read each other's poems. And I really wanted to read Kopano's, I would say, title track, because from there, everything blooms. It is such a detonator of a poem. So without further ado, Jesus Thesis. I love this poem. I always have to take a breath before it because it's like, oh, asks things with me. But here we go. Jesus was a faggot. Jesus liked it rough. Jesus was a masochist. Jesus liked whips and chains, sometimes nails. Jesus had a safe word. No one remembers it. No one dares try. Jesus was femme. Jesus had wrists so limp they had to nail them straight, send him to conversion therapy. Jesus didn't make it. Jesus' mother wept. Jesus' mother wept. Jesus' mother wept. Jesus was a drag queen. Jesus served face for the gods. Jesus had a drag name. Jesus had many drag names. Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Shalom, Prince of Penises, Prince in Pieces. Jesus was a power button. Jesus had daddy issues. Jesus was a daddy. Jesus was an otter. Jesus was a cum slut, a Holy Ghost covered in semen. Jesus let so many men inside of him, he became an ocean. His lovers, fishes of men. Jesus didn't know how to make boundaries. Jesus practiced ethical polyamory. He gave until there was nothing left of him. On the day he disappeared, his body became a tomb, and Jesus wept. God, Jesus wept. A cameo from my tiny dog.
I love you, and I
I
love
love
that.
you too.
Is that Santu who had to come and say hi?
This is Maru who just wants to steal the spotlight, so I'll just let her do whatever she wants.
Thank you, beauty. I think there's
Of
something
course, my love.
so interesting about hearing the timbre, the cadence of someone else reading your writing, especially because the all the work that comes from Jesus Thesis comes from a performance. So it was written for to be read out loud. Um, and it's beautiful that yeah, all the different shades and textures that it can get when it's read out loud in different contexts. So thank you for that.
I love you.
Um, I love you so much. Wow. Now to move to Maneo. Okay, what I need you to understand about Maneo is that they're a menace. They're truly a menace of society in the best sense, because we were talking previously about the autobiographical example and how it stretches kind of beyond itself. And what Maneo's collection does for me in a context that is so rife with gender-based violence, um, there's a kind of like in the focusing in, it stretches the possibilities of the relationship that we can have to traumatic moments. And there's a resting of agency in the text that demands that what happened to me is terrible, but it happened to me and therefore it's mine, and I will decide the shape that it will take in my life. And there's something really urgent and necessary about that in a world that decides the narratives of Black people, of trans people, and fixes us into boxes of trauma as if that is the totality of who it is that we are. So these kind of experimentations with what can be done with what remains after a collision is something that I really value from Maneo's work, The Menace. This is Everything is a Deathly Flower. In place of no, my leaking mouth spills foxgloves. Trumpets of tongued blossoms litter the locked closet. Up to my ankles in petals, the hang gowns close in. Are the multiplied more? There's always more. From Saeed Jones. The memory returns to me as a dream, inkblood rising black, weeping porous on the night's page. In place of my room, I lie sleeping in an open forest, moss a bed beneath me, blanket of cedar leaves, fragrant and warm as prayer, until you arrive. In all your silent menace, you are keeping watch. Your night vigil brief, searching for a moment when my sleep deeps deepest. You sneak into the moss and touch me without my consent. In place of no, my leaking mouth spills foxgloves, soundlessly, onto the pillowed green. You do not stop. Instead, you mistake the flood of petals from my mouth as pleasure. You do not stop. Instead, you read my body's rigidness as yes. You read my silence as permission. You read my closed eyes as assent and my turned head as, of course, I am Black and woman and queer. What else could a body be but for entry? How else am I legible but as safe to violate everything as a deathly flower? Trumpets of tongued blossoms litter the locked closet, standing unmoved behind us. Panic paces its itch across my back. For a moment, I forget my power. until I arrive. In the dream, everything is different. I will open my eyes. I throw you off of me onto the floor. I summon the vines to snake around your wrists like venom. In the dream, the ground asks you what on earth you are doing. In the dream, everything rises to protect me. The petals from my mouth are survivors. I am up to my ankles in petals. The hanged gowns close in, ensnaring you. And suddenly I am safe. Everything is different in the dream. In the dream, I am safe forever. I leave my moss bed with bare feet. Somewhere, a lover calls me by name, Gift Mother, she says. We find each other by the water. I leave the foxgloves behind me. Every petal that fell from my mouth is a survivor. They are my mother multiplied more. There's always more.
You're sick for that, eh?
You're
You're
a
sick.
menace. I just want everyone
You're
to know that you're a menace.
I'm okay with that. That's fine for me. I think what's wonderful and deeply romantic about hearing the poem in your voice is I can hear that you love me, you know? I can hear that in the care that you take, in the breath that you take, in the space that you give me, and the time that you take, I can hear that. And also I that poem and this book turns 5 this year. It's 5 good years of everything is. And I hear there's so much about that poem that has grown up. Genders have changed. My view, I think, on time has changed. Lovers have changed. And I think what's so wonderful in hearing a time capsule in your perfect baritone cadence is just so so much love and care inside of that. So thank you for that, and thanks for detonating this and opening that up with each other because that feels really good. If you
I'm so
don't
obsessed
mind,
with
I
you. It's
think
problematic.
it's fine. We're gonna be fine. Let's just breathe through it. Um, I I'm gonna ask for requests from you. Do you know what I mean? And then I think we can just swap from there and keep it going. Do you know what I mean? So
That's very
now that
sexy.
we, thanks. Now that we've opened up with prayer, I want prayer, more prayer, like explicit prayer. And there is a way that you repurpose. Um, it's I would say Christian prophetic traditions um, in your poetry, and I want to hear the morning Eucharist, and then I'll read Mid Heaven after that, and then we can move. Do you know what I mean?
That's
What
very
do you think?
sexy. I'm
Oh,
very into the
baby.
sexiness.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. If we're opening
Okay,
up
let me
our
find
Bibles,
her.
what page are we on, Sean?
If we open up our Bible, that would be page 18.
I
No,
love this. Let's go. Yes, let's go.
hallelujah. So this is morning Eucharist. Holy, holy, holy bottle, holy blackout, holy 4 hours of sleep, holy headache, holy light of day, holy hangover, holy pill after pill after pill after holy unraveling. Holy drunk before midday, Holy Ghost, holy take me to the place where Judas kissed Jesus. Holy, I want to remember what he tasted like. Holy, turn my water into wine. Holy, paint my face with your holy seed. Holy, keep me on my knees. Holy, fuck me sanctified. Holy, fuck me happy. Holy, fuck me normal. Holy, help me make it through another day. Amen. Again, again. Amen.
Firstly, yes. Secondly, these invocations, the Amen, again, Amen. Let me respond. Okay, let's go. I'm inside. I'm inside. Let's go. Midheaven was also so hard for me because I'm still trying to figure out everything. Gosh, okay,
Mm.
let's do it. Oh Lord. Mm, firstly, let me get this right, Lord. Okay. Why am I so nervous? You see, you make me nervous. Okay.
Just breathe.
Let
You're
a
gonna
good.
be okay.
Okay. Whew. This is Midheaven Paternoster. Let a good story begin with palms, double thundered in meeting, double folded in twin greeting again. Let the buds whisper, here again, here again, here. Give me lilt and lyre, call ear to attention, soft fur and fire buzz, creatures of electric air as the elder griot bows. Agree now, in bronze grass, agree now that you are human. Unrelenting, unribboning song was sung that brought me to him. In this lifetime, he finds me velvet backed, nestled near a narrow haunt, sunned by red light, having remade myself boy. Neon, unthroated, there's he, shadowy stood little Orpheus, all a sniff, lyreless. We look good in cosmic time. Graft, we'd be spots of starlight storming connected in Cassandra red, conspiracy thread, all constellation like. On Wiki's authority, muses carried his strings to heaven, dappled and placed in dappled blackness in a star ash. Across a field of violets, exactly 2 forever ago, he finally tells me to hush. Just pucker your lips, honey, pray. Okay? Heels in the moss then as greeting. My matter, who is mid-heaven, handful of thy mane, thy shore denied, thy quantum-eyed, on earth as exiled from heaven. Teach us to crave our daily bread, forgive us our sin as we forget those that sin against us. Steer us not out of temptation, but deliver us from evil. From thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen, damn it.
Amen, damn it.
You are you are such a problem. Like I
Fine.
really so like my work is really coming from like orality because of my performance background, but I really recommend for anyone listening, please get your hands on Manewa's like the physical document, but then also the documents to come. Because what you do on the page, like I have the poem in front of me. What you do on the page, it's very important. The musicality, it comes through, yes. But there's something about your work. It's like I need to see it, I need to be with it. I really appreciate what a formalist slut you are and how
Thank
much
you.
respect you paid to form.
Thank
And
you.
it's the same in everything is. Like you were the one who introduced me to the form of glossa, this form of poetry where you take a quote and every subsequent stanza ends with one line from the quote. I didn't know this existed. So just big respect to like the big brains and then how the big brains reach to like affect and don't remain locked within intellectual inertia. This is
Oh,
me just saying that like you're hot, and I want other people to know that you're hot on the page. It's important
thank you.
to
Thank
me
you.
specifically. Thank you.
Thank you. I think what's really lovely, and also just a shout out in terms of like who gave me the glow sign, who also showed me that work can be both really hot and also very precise, is Amber Dawn came out with Where the Words End and My Body Begins. And that was the first time that I saw the glow sign. I went, whoa, not only can something so formal, it can be queer and serious and precise and beautiful. So yes, more poetry to me. Where are we going after this?
I think if we just take ourselves, yes. So then next in our playlists, yes, I would love to hear from you, in fact,
Hmm.
again. Is it the Matthew, the Unknot?
Oh, fine. Okay, let's go. You said
I
Samana.
want it. I want it
Okay,
immediately.
I'm gonna give it to you. I'm actually gonna give it to you. It's yours now. Okay. I think I mean, this is such a strange poem, at least for me, um, for all kinds of reasons, but let me just get it for you. You see, now you've discombobulated all of my stuff, but I'm here now. Okay, here we go. This is after you. The epigraph is from a poem by Jennifer Chan called Dorothy Wordsworth. And the quotation is, "Oh, flower," one said, "why aren't you meat?" Okay,
I
cool.
love that quote.
Me too. No, no, not plucked as in petal, but stole as in shawl or scarf or noose, depending on the fiber's fever. Anxiety and adjustment and disorder unwrap the chappie's wrapper yellow and blue and red and black. Unwrap the old South African flag orange and white and blue and black. Did you know a tower struck by lightning is both epiphany and disaster? No. I hid my knots beginning somewhere in a confession booth in Bedford View, babe. If I show you how, can you promise me that I won't burn like the rest of them? Stained as in stained glass, pressed as in Presbyteria. Brighter. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to be a boy for this part.
Love you. Just love you.
I love you a
And
lot.
I was sorry to discombobulate you, but I thought it was a really beautiful example of how interwoven we are. So this poem that Maneo just read, Matthew the Unknot, comes after a poem that I wrote for Jesus Thesis called Flower Boy, Fuck Me Gently.
Let's go. Let's go. Firstly, let's
Giddy up,
go.
giddy up, giddy the
Okay.
fuck up.
Okay. Oh, okay. Read this one, and then I'll tell you exactly why I love this one so much. Let's go.
Tell me exactly. So,
Mm-hmm.
no, not gay as in happy, but queer as in chronic depression, avoidant attachment, social anxiety, fear of the sidewalk, fear of the shadow men, of the shadows of men, of my shadow who has a man's hunger, of my own hands with their ceaseless longing. My gay is the quiet unflowering of my sex, is the smell of fresh lube and ruptured condom wrappers left under beds, under fingers, in the palm of your hand as I press my tongue into it. My gay is the way I bend at the waist, but don't break until you let me, until you open me up like a crack of teeth straight through a jawbreaker, straight to the sweet and the stick. And I say several silent prayers that your unwrapped cock will not make me a cliche, will not prove my mother right about us and how we always meet our ends too sick and too soon. No, not tonight. Tonight, I am all fear and eyes wide. Tonight, you are daddy, and I am the boy with my ass up on your sofa, falling to pieces, falling into and onto your thickness until we are both drowned men.
Firstly, how dare you? Secondly, um, I love what I love about this poem is its refusal. And Matthew was after you, obviously, both in structure, both and in its no, and in its um I think in its sass, and that's sort of like I hid my knots beginning in a confession booth in Bedford View, babe. The kind of colloquial, but the way there is it is Flower Boy Fuck Me Gently is so serious. I think I get into what Matthew allows me and what I'm allowed to slip on by by putting a costume, your costume, putting your clothes on, I suppose. What it allows me, what your voice allows me, is to stretch into the playfulness of a kind of femme refusal. But what Flower Boy Fuck Me Gently is so incredible at is its utter gay seriousness. And for me, where it rips the carpet underneath me is like, please don't make me a cliche. This in this in this deep erotic frenzy, there's always the specter of the past of disease, the specter of death, but in a I would say in a hot gothic way, in this incredibly opaque Fred Moten um, right to opacity um, way. It's so soaked in blackness. And to respond to you, because this poem opened up and enabled me to write this other poem. Um, which the good people at Red Wheelbarrow know, because they were the first ever, I think, to really see it. This is a poem called Beg, and I wrote this for a dom. Oh, I love this poem, but yeah, I love it because you let me love it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, let's go. We'll talk about it. This is where I guess you give me permission to be serious. So this is Beg, Christina for a dom. Once, once ago, I swallowed a blood blossom and inked myself a love, dipped in revelry. Every there, we puffed like owls, brick-backed as this new song of myself, unharmonied and honeyed as the past. If I gave it to you, where would you tuck my tongue? From the maybe vista of your pocket, teach it to say yes, twice. Teach it doubly to say, please, yes. Ignore my shyness. This dance is double bluff and spun. Does shame govern me? Yes, send your tongue to me regardless, to be a poem. There, let hunger be tethered as an anchor, clasped between the triptych shadows of myself, three-paned and bright. Let me sing myself, tongued into your mouth. Let every song say yes to you. Soaked as I am in the past, I've been known to write a blossom into blood blooming, yet every there in the nation of my mind, the ray of your tongue forges me open, pens me anew. Tongued in a new language, blood beats itself bruised, rushing to you. Delicious as wine. Words shed their skins quickly when you talk. When you say yes, cities of doubt crumble into blossoms. Love light, I am trying to talk to you, but the past is a gag. Flick with sometimes silence. Passed down, hereditary. History sucks as a segue is not the corridor of blossoms we were promised in school, consoling ourselves with white pages and lunch boxes sealed in promise. Yes, our mothers will never know us like this. There is no country safe enough for this word. There could never be. Who could ever defend the border of the past? Please, let me be a river of yes, a prayer in black tongue, an ocean of myself, a many-bladed blossom. Make me a tongue, show me myself, flesh gated by teeth and promises, bright as blood.
Okay, so I want to talk about words shed their clothes quickly when you speak.
Mm.
Who gave you permission and how dare you?
Okay,
And bright as blood. Oh, okay. So you mean it.
I do.
You're serious. Okay, okay.
No, I'm
I
not fucking
appreciate that.
around.
You're not fucking around, and I respect that. In the same light, I would like to not fuck around with you and respond in kind.
Let's go.
So
Oh, we're in it now. Let's go. One up.
no,
Let's go.
okay, this is not a competition because I'll lose. Just
Sorry, that's me being an Aries. I'm so sorry. Keep
no,
going.
fully. And like as a Pisces, I'm not trying to compete with anyone. I'm just trying to sleep. I'm just trying to nap.
I understand. I'm sorry, my sweet baby girl. I'm sorry, baby girl. Let's go.
But yeah, so in response, this is something that I've been working on. It doesn't have a title yet, but we'll call it The Secret of Ordinary People. The secret of ordinary people is that they fall in love, according to Huntress Wizard. And wouldn't the forest know better what the flesh cannot admit? I wanted to be ordinary my whole life, with ordinary hands that want ordinary things, like to touch what they should and not what they can't, and to make ordinary love with ordinary people, and to make ordinary cereal, and to chew that ordinary cereal with an ordinary mouth, and to have an ordinary hunger, ordinary appetites. To not bay at the moon with a stranger's cock in my mouth and the scratch of dirt on my knees, eyes like moon craters, eyes like yes, sir. A hungry dog with hungry needs, a yapping pup with the slick of an ordinary boy's wet cunt making my face an ocean offering, lunar benefaction. I am but a praying thing with praying needs and praying knees and a searching tongue, far from ordinary. The moon anointed me in its apex in Pisces. He shone her shining smut-light over me and anointed me a slut for service. And who am I if not a supplicant, a sycophant, a good boy who knows how to pray come as petition? Oh, holy hole, may my throbbing sex be an ark to carry you through these rainstorms of holy longing. May you gape us a corridor through these red seas. May I ring the gong of your clit and may we be raptured. May we be sainted. May we disappear into the ordinary secrets of want. Holy Spirit, come and let me be the ordinary water you turn to ordinary wine as you pour, pour, pour.
Kopano Maroga. Kopano
Maneo,
Maroga.
listen,
Kopa.
Maneo, listen. That poem doesn't exist without Beg. I don't think you have the vision because you sent me Beg. I think like it must have been at
Ah,
least a year ago, at
yeah,
least.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, no, if they can chat about if they can chat about begging, let me chat about begging. Okay? They've
Then let's go.
opened, then let's go. So I thank thee.
Okay. Okay, let's
To thee I
go
thank.
because now we're in it. Now we're in it.
Are we cooking with fire
Okay.
now?
Yes. And I was like, oh, I read, oh, sorry, I can't even make words. Okay. Oh, because because of Beg, I wrote notes on a Sestina and I wrote a poem called NB4A slash Good Boy. And I wrote that for you for a project called Male Discourse, which was also really beautiful because it was the very first time I think I was able to bring my boyhood to the fore um, and queer it in this way. So this is a very strange prose poem that I wrote for you actually, called NB4A Good Boy. Oh, I love you. Yes, here, of course, with a poet, something about the way his chest softens under the beginnings of words, voice like a good book's binding. Love him in numbered days. Okay then. Let the poem act as a ribbon of sensation, mid-ravel unraveling, stalling at first, ending as a coil on its knees. His wrist in my mouth now, finally, after so long. The poem, soft-chested beginning, primum movens as little nemesis, he offers me sensation like ripe fruit, or warm-blooded finger as both portal and boundary. Forgive him. Tongue, descending towards the blue bruise underness of the water, body as container and constrictor, driven by glacial purpose, breath and constriction, how slow a fall can be. Multi-directional tentacular desire. Just the sound of their voice, you know. How often the poem forks its tongue. Epistolary, textual, solo corona, polylingual, suffix, black blackened, sweet vicious, as molasses mimetic. One night, without me, the mouth asks, Mister, Mano, have you been suspected and suspended within fantasy like a heavy bell? The sound, as always, answer honey and brass when they come. Velvet echo and bitter rhythm, 4 fingers in my mouth, feral and dangerous, that kind of control. How holy, know a holy creature when you see one. Open its jaws and sing in its throat. Isn't this a human little game? Catching the memory with my teeth and thrilling at its gum wriggle. Us four packed tin fish like in my brother's car, barreling to the Troyville Hotel in Todd Rain. Boy banter, you know the kind. Except you're watching me weave myself into it. All playful mischief, soft-bellied bombast. I know what kind of boy you are. A gift you give me later. Spilling syrup in my lap. You're silly. Between kisses, you're naughty and silly. Every there. drifting as clouds do, setting another prayer loose at her feet, waiting. I miss worship most of all. 2 steps below me, you cut my face and stop time. At my feet, you shed your boy like a suit in summer. Yes, 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 it is true what they say. The amygdala is a soft and bitter piece of meat.
So what comes after that?
Well, a
What comes
marriage.
after what comes after you shed your boy like a suit? What comes after that? Like a suit in summer.
Mm,
What comes? It's such a problem. It's such a problem. I want to ask you if there's if there's one that you want to hear from me.
there is, yes. And I know exactly off the top of my head which one it runs. I want to hear At Swim Two Boys.
Didn't you write something about this somewhere? Or
Yes,
did you just write it
it
to me?
was no, I wrote an essay about this poem. It's still forthcoming actually, but I wrote an essay about this poem and how much I love it and how evocative it is and how locked in memory it feels and how also it was the first poem that I encountered of yours. So yeah, that's the one that I want. That's the one that I want. Kopano, give it to me. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Okay, okay. Let me be a real person and try. But wait, where is this poem?
Let me assist you actually. If we could only open up our Bible. I even know.
The way you
um,
even
at,
know, wow.
I do. At Swim is on page 85 of my Bible.
Oh, of
There's
course,
a
yes.
piece.
Thank you.
Yeah. Could you please? Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks.
I love you so much. Thank you for
You don't
helping
know
me be a real
anything.
person.
You don't know
I
anything.
know
Let's go.
everything.
Let's go.
So this is At Swim, Two Boys. More than to be memorable, I just want to remember the first baptism of drizzle, the first smell of wet earth, the first embrace in your skin, like the rain-slickened road after the softest precipitous caress, after so many days of drought. The way the hills would look in the morning with the dew lying like a blanket of sighs. Not because I've forgotten, never that, but I'd like to remember as if for the first time, to be humbled by the unspeakable joy of knowing there is more beauty yet for me in this world, if no other. I would very much like to hold you as I did that night where I couldn't fix any of it, but you let me hold you anyway. I would like to kneel at your feet again, Em, and take your calloused hands in mine and listen to the meteors of silence hurtling between us. I have not engaged with that poem for so long, which is also why I could not find it. And
Mm.
it's wow, it was actually quite emotional to read it again.
Why?
Because
Why
yeah,
was it emotional? How did it feel?
there's so much
Why?
in there. Yeah, how did it feel? It's what's that word for like a nostalgic grief, like a nostalgic sadness? I don't know if there is a word, or
Saudade.
maybe I'm imagining it. But yeah, I mean it's about a boy, it's about a relationship. It's always about a boy, isn't it? And
Mhm.
it's the complexities because it's also like, from high school, I went to a boarding school, very colonial. So there's all this romance in it, in this context of like extreme violence, of like being this black body in this colonially descended school, and then reading the romance alongside that is really really tricky, really troublesome in a really way in a way that I'm very thankful for. Um, to be, I think it was Brandiswa James who said something along the lines. I was at a conference on dreaming feminist futures in like 2015, 16. And she read this essay about, and one of the quotes from it was like, how do we live in illicit occupation with the settler? And we've spoken about this a lot, like this kind of
Yep.
the the undertones of love and sex across racial lines in specifically in South Africa, and then to read or to write and then read a poem that almost romanticizes that. I'm like, damn, I'm
Yeah,
gonna need to
but
go back to that one.
Yeah, but do you know what I hear in at swim more than the romance is memory. It's more what do you open? I before because I want to say it back to you. You say more than to be memorable. I just want to remember. That for me is its spine and the poem's spine. It's around memory and the difficulty of memory and the monster of memory. And both
Yeah.
you do this gorgeous balance of the individual because here you are, you're talking about a boy, but in a way that hooks onto a larger queer canon. I'm thinking about Kolekahia and collective amnesia and the act of memory and all of the ways that we fail to remember the past. And in response directly to you, since we're doing this, I want to read the poem that I read that I stitched the in this book. The poem that I stitched with yours, that Facebook post that you Kopano wrote a Facebook post called Disappearing Act Number Two. And it was poetry to me, and I glossed on it. And in this book, I wrote a, a poem called Ophelia Gray, which is a kind of flower, a skeleton flower, because there's images of glass in here. But you want to talk about race and memory and brokenness and romance, and hey, let's talk here. So
Let's
you,
chat.
right?
Chat to me.
Yeah,
Chat straight to me.
you, yeah. And also, I want to ask and be conscious of time. How are we doing on time? Because I want to, are we good? Thank you, Melissa. Because we could go at this forever. But let me let me let me read the video Gaia to you because I feel like it touches at swim in a different way now. Um, Hearing you speak about why that poem is a bit wriggly for you. So you write, tell me where I can put you down. I've written the sky from midnight to dawn and carried you all the way till morning, and I'm tired. I remember the morning I read that and I went, oh my God, yes, here we go. And this is what I write. At second session, I hold a glass plate in my hands, translucent and gold as the chalkama, ornamental as apology. Its mass reminds me of my own grief and how it is still too sharp to swallow. My first therapist is calm and white. She wears green to taunt me, so I break her plate. Barely blinking, she unwraps a parcel and offers it to me instead of anger. Sensing how taxonomy is both sanctum and shield, she gives me four words for what happened in the night room. Tell me where I can put you down like this, in shards and fragments. Give me the page that'll bind your sin in ink and amber. Add this to your extended list of reparations. I intend to collect everything I'm owed. The scarred stomach is testimony, and this grammar is a set of relationships between structures of language at the eye level of every sentence. They will bear witness. I know what it means to be time zone shattering. I've written the sky from midnight to dawn in close pursuit of an exorcism, only to summon the smoke of my own shame. This shouldn't surprise me as much. I'm writing in English. In the beginning, I had my therapist bids to protect you and handfuls of my own teeth. You knew not what you did. You were led by the wrist across the border. You were jealous of the man sleeping in my heart's watchtower, and I deceived you and carried you all the way till morning into the night room with the poison candy floss of my charm. Of course, it was my fault. My therapist watches me break myself with the same calm. I am less fragile than her gold water plate, but I break with the same spectacular sound. I am made of something more precious than glass. I'm looking for words now, and I'm tired.
Mm.
reading these words now, it feels like you were holding me up, you know?
But I
And
mean,
so
this is
much of
what's
the,
so.
oh,
No, go ahead, go ahead.
sorry, baby. I
I
think
got you.
so much of the work, especially of the work of writing about trauma and through trauma, um, is so lonely and so isolating. And I've I knew that in the process of writing this book, I was reaching, and I was reaching for you, of course, but going back and holding them now, and also feeling who we are now, a little now, it feels so apt for us to move into eros and really to move and embrace the erotic, um, not as a disavowal or as a turning away from trauma, more more like that, like the way that the girlies say shadow integration now. But I think more more of a deep, the way that Saidiya Hartman defines beauty as a transfiguration of the given and an embrace of our terribleness.
Mm.
What we do, what she says, radical subsistence, what humans do.
Which makes you think of that. Is it
Possibility in the space of enclosure. That's it. I was like, wait, let me
oh,
not.
possibility in the space of enclosure? Okay, okay, I
Yes,
hear you now.
that beauty is
Yes,
possibility in the
yes.
space of enclosure. And yeah, I don't know. I reading reading us in that way and the way that we're always weaving, I was reaching for you and you were always there. Just, you
Mm.
know? Yeah.
But I mean, this is what I love about your writing practice, the way that it's like you take the practice of like academic citation and use it as to make this kind of like ad hoc community, right? So like within the book, you're writing through so many other writers, Saeed, myself, etc., and the quotations. But then also in the text themselves, like super, what's this word? Um, there's so many internal references to like community within the writing. So this reaching, it's not only that it's like behind the scenes, but it's woven into the thing itself. So like thinking about how this practice of writing can, mm, yeah, how we can take it or how we can defy the kind of convention of the kind of like European auteur who goes to their studio and is brilliant in and of themselves and disregarding the kind of communal context that they come from and the communal context that creates or makes it possible for them to do their work. And like your work is like a testament to that, that there's this continual and that you go and it's not what I really love is the kind of perversity. Like we reach for Sadia, but then we also reach for Franz Kafka. I love that
That's
there is this kind
daddy.
of like
That's daddy for real. And I
I
think,
love that it's just like I'm voracious and I don't care from whence or from whom. Like I will have it all,
yes,
right? So that hunger
yes,
in your writing is something that I really, yeah,
we're
I really appreciate.
omnivores. We're omnivores, you and I. And I think we feed on what nourishes us. And
Mm.
what ends up shining through is just such a testament to hunger. Not just not just hunger as a deficit of something, but that hunger can be a state, a deep state of knowing and an
Ooh,
activation. And before I even like before we philosophize even more, I want another poem. I want one more from you, and then you can ask for more from me. But
gorgeous.
can you, oh God, could you read? Now I'm like spoiled for choice, but actually, could you read Sodom and Gomorrah for me, please?
For you, anything. For you, anything,
Thank
everything, all day. I'm
you.
yours.
Thank you. Yeah, could you read Sodom and Gomorrah for me?
Absolutely. I cannot count love without loss, live without death, tip without a calculator. Some things just go together. Loud as sunlight through the curtains on all the mornings that saw me weeping the night through. Some things just go together. My hand in between my own fingers now, reaching for the phantom flat of your back, or the spectral curl of your hair against my forehead, that you made a mountain. how you took my sternum for a cliff face, your forearms so good for climbing, for slicing oranges into morbid grins, the hemispheres of my brain humming something like apocalypse, learning to breathe with my mouth closed, calling the drowning body Atlantis and all the ones before us kings and queens. There's no need to grieve the undying. There is nowhere to bury that which lives on. Call it intergenerational trauma or the faint cry of people not yet done living. And that's Solomon Gomorrah.
You're sick.
And
You're
then,
sick for it. You're sick. Ill.
but when you were talking about hunger, there was another poem that I was thinking about. Um, is it Touch Hungry?
And leaking. Don't just say, don't just say touch hungry. Say the full words for the full titles of your poems.
Sound
Touch
it
hungry
out,
and
sound it out.
leaking.
Touch
Touch
Hungry
hungry
and
and
Leaking.
leaking. Yeah.
Yeah, like this
Can
poem
I
is
can
all
I
about.
read
Can
touch
you?
hungry?
Yes, please. Yes, thank you
Because
so much.
I love this because of the penis line. So thank you. I love it so much. Okay, thank you. I love this poem. Okay. I have so many secrets, a collection for each season. When spring comes around, I turn sour in my own sweet, a mess of sweat and spit. And please, please, please. Summer is for hunger. I eat until I throw up, lick the floor clean until the leaves start turning amber and I can lie still under blankets of bloody handprints. In winter, I dream of the shadows becoming so long I can cross them into the underworld. I count my blessings and chalk up another day. It's oh so quiet. I can ask the questions that I don't dare to ask under the sun's light. One, how do I feel after this? Two, how do I crawl back into the cave of my body? And three, light a fire for the heat and not the burn. To say it plainly, I am bursting with my own want, reeking, wanting a dick inside me for a hunger with no access. A mouth by any other name would be just as sweet. A mouth by any other name would be just sweet. There's a less complicated way to say this. I think it starts with fuck and ends with me. I want you to end in me. Horizon to sunset, dusk to dawn, seed to harvest. If we pull the grain from the ground at just the right time, if the grain can be ground into meal into flour, we might have enough bread to see us through this interminable famine. There might be something like life after love, an unconsecrated sacrament. So yes, Holy Spirit, Mother Mary, soft goddess of the erection, warrior of the wet tongue, apostle of gaping assholes. I am asking for it on my knees, tongue outstretched. I am begging to be fed on bread and bread alone. Okay.
It's so hard when you read.
And now I'm
Can
realizing
I?
that the asking for it, like I wrote, there's another one that I wrote. Um, for Francis Goodman, for Francis Goodman. Um, I wrote like a five petal poem, really weird fucking poem called Mirror Poem, and the last one um is around that asking for it. So I want to find it now because I'm like, oh baby, I didn't even know.
Oh, baby.
Oh baby,
While you're
oh
finding it,
baby.
can I read your one of my favorites from you? I don't know how to say
Yes.
this because it's Latin. Colocasia?
Oh, yes, Delta. Yes, yes,
Delta.
please. Colocasia Delta. Baby, yes, please. Okay.
Colocasia.
Oh,
All right.
Colocasia, Colocasia, whatever, man.
See,
Okay,
the
read.
reason that like I understand that you are much more intelligent than I am because you're out here with Latin, and I'm like, let me humble myself actually. Let
I'm
me
mock
every time I
I'm
read this
mocking
collection.
I'm mocking the Swedish colonialists with the Latin, but go ahead with your bad self. Go ahead with your bad self. And then I'm gonna read Mommy, Sorry Mommy immediately after Colocasia, and then
Gorgeous.
we can see where we're at for time. I love you.
Mm, I love you. Colocasia Delta after Gene Anverly. He is hungry and sweet. He is an open palm, but she is a jar of flies tonight, waiting for the 99. She tells the story while holding groceries. It is about a striped pole in the middle of the ocean. It is about a yellow line, two tongues hiding in a mine dump. She is a cracked thread spreading on a windshield. The sound of her mouth is anything but crystal. He is trying to understand, but the bus is here. He is an open palm, so they walk. She's a green dress unraveling. This story is a gulping thing, alive. On the corner of Broadway and Balaclava, he begins to understand, braces near a bench as it dawns terrified now of the water. When the story finally arrives, everything black as a river. She's a delta now, unsedimented and wide, a shuddering category veined blue with narrative. No longer an open palm made sharp with shock, he wants reckoning, a case file yawning open, a courtroom brimmed with judges, a banishing, a punishment. The water recedes, leaving her grocery bags leaking, both of them damp now, forgetting the way home. I love you.
So much. Do you know what I love so much about the way that you read that? The speed. Just the momentum. Oh. Okay. And this because this is about the last time I saw one of my loves. We went swimming. This was in the Pacific Northwest when I went to go visit them. This is my love. This is about swimming for the last time with my trans love K. And it's called Mommy, Sorry Mommy, after a TikTok meme. The epigraph, the epigraph is by Safia Ehio from her book Girls That Never Die. And the quote is, "My mother is almost my mother now, darker color of the noontime sun." Hmm. Under the surface of the green water, I begin to remember my handlessness, all fin instead, my scales gleaming darkly, ancient again. Kay and I swim instead of speaking. Every man in me submits to the authority of the land, the water, and its guardians, makes way for mother, utopic compromise. Come promise, come promise. I don't feel my honey brass belled chest in the water, its heavy mass suspended for me. Floating, I let myself dream about the knife, the one that visits our dreams and whispers, its edge double song. Let me cut you, baby. Aren't you a boy? Wet fins underwater swaying in response. No, mama, but I am asking for it.
Obsessed with you. Love you, obsessed with you
Obsessed with
now
you.
and for all time.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Melissa, do we find ourselves how are we for time?
How are we doing?
We never wanted to end, but we probably should start getting to a wrap up if we want to have time for some questions.
Okay, cool. I think, do you want two? You get to ask for two, and I get to ask for two, and then we can answer. Yeah?
Okay, gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Okay.
Gorgeous.
Okay. What do you want, Kopano? Use your words, baby.
I want don't do this. For sure I want gazania. It's a
Fine.
treasure flower.
Yes. And
Absolutely. And then I want
I think Letsatsi, because we haven't.
We haven't. Can we please do that?
Yeah.
Shut down.
Okay. And then can I ask for you?
Yes.
Oh my God. So many to ask for. But I feel like I know what's happening. May I please ask for practice makes present?
Oh, child.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. Okay.
And and can we end off with grief song?
Sure. We
I know I'm
surely
not
can.
giving I know I'm not giving you easy things, but I think those are the two ones that I want. So you said Gazania,
No, I
hey?
love it. I love it. I love
Okay.
when a dom tests my yes.
And
So stretch me.
I know, and you're such a good girl. Okay, let's go. Gazania, number 30. Okay. I am looking for the exit. I am looking for my stomach's voice. I am looking for Nkgono. I am looking for her twisted root. I am looking for the door above it. I am looking for her iron cross. I am looking for a Catholic shoot. I am looking for thick-ankled sky. I am looking for a railway. I am looking for his soapy arm. I am looking for a remedy. I am looking for the dream. I am looking for it soaked in snakes. I am looking for my blood's message. I am looking for my country's jaw. I am looking for the night mountain. I am looking for her flooding wounds. I am looking for answers. I am looking for my tongue again. I am looking for rancid prophecy. I am looking for revenge. I am looking for a blade. Now I am looking for the words splitting my spine. I am looking for my lover's teeth, all of them. I am looking for their tongues again. I am looking for a seed. I am looking for the lizard in my name. I am looking for betrayal. I am looking for a sterile light. I am looking for the word eating my eye. I am looking for the backwards river. I am looking for my gender now. I am looking for its burial. I am looking for the dead. I am looking for the depthless pool. I am looking for Baradibaka. I am looking for the yellowed men. I am looking for my fever's birth. I am looking for Butabute. I am looking for blood. I am looking for burnt women. I am looking underneath me. I am looking at the way they left. I am looking for the moaning. I am looking for a sweetest shame. I am looking for the dogs and why they speak my name in Januaries. I am looking for my mother, for the mound, and its only reason I am looking for my sugared mouth, now open again for another. Do you want me to now?
I'm just I'm just absorbing. That's all I'm doing. I'm just absorbing. Do you want to go into that now or do you need some breath?
No, I'm inside. I'm inside. Okay.
Then go back up, babes. Go back.
Okay. I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but yeah. No. Oop. Okay. This is Lizette. This is my true firstborn, I think. Yeah. Anyway. In your mother's red golf, you ask her what Benoni means. Son of my sorrow. Hearing the sun instead, you turn the word over in your mind like a coin. Ghosts are living in mine dumps as your mother drives you home. Honeycomb mountains are brittle. Tomorrow, you ask her for a crunchy after school. Like all names of the Bible, Benoni sounds ancient. Out your mother's mouth, magic, Menjik, Magic. You are still small enough to hide inside the good book's rice paper pages. You do not know yet what you are. Have not had Leviticus angled at you like an ice pick. For now, the Bible is a hand drum for women draped in white and blue. Kokatlehong in a pockmarked garage. There are women made of clouds and ocean. They make terrifying sea-wide music. Skupu, the plastic bottom of everything that has a heart. Shells and bottle tops on ankles. How neatly old and new gods sit together. In school, you meet a man named Cecil John and learn the word pioneer. Turn the word over in your mind like a coin. Your mother is a witness. Your mother is a pioneer, not yet knocking on doors to tell people about the good news. You wonder if Cecil was a witness too. Wonder on whose doors he knocked. For which God? To spread what good news?
You're sick.
I
You are
know.
sick.
Ill.
Like, especially how neatly old and new gods sit together. You're sick.
I understand. No remedy in sight. Your turn.
I'm so, well, I think about Litsatsi a lot, as we've discussed. Let me just say that much. So this is practice makes present. It's not so much about what it means, so much as how does it work? From Christina Johnston. One, I am moving past questions of what living means into questions of how does living work? Heaven is not a place we can enter without the requisite labor. Heaven is not a place we can enter into upright, but only on our hands and knees. Prayer's divine labor. The meek shall inherit the earth, but only after they are buried in it. Christ carried his cross, and now we must carry everything he has left in his wake. When the living gets too much, I bury myself in the work. Labor is a way not to think about what death means, but to discover how it works. Mortality is the greatest gift that Eve could have ever bestowed unto us. Could you imagine if the living would not cease? Two. In 2016, when I was delirious from insomnia and ridden with a nameless grief, a thought came to me in my deepest suicidal ideations. The living will end soon enough. Until then, better to see how it works. My aunt passed away. I didn't attend her funeral. I didn't attend to most things. I didn't attend to the work of living with grief because the living would end soon enough. I sometimes think my depression is a story I tell myself to make the living end sooner, how to live in a place where the dead never die. I want to go home and tell my mother that I don't know what any of it means. I want to go home and tell my mother that the crush she gave me is hurting my back. I want to go home and tell my mother that she was right. She was always right. And so we no longer need to pretend that we don't know each other anymore. I don't know what that means. I want to make this work.
Do you know, do you know, do you know why? Firstly, wow, wow. And secondly, I want to go home and tell my mother that I don't know what any of it means. I don't know what that means. I want to make this work. And how labor and work folds and spirals and makes itself and unbuttons itself throughout the poem. I'm so in love with you. Give me the second one. Thanks. Keep going.
I love you.
I love you.
So to close, this is grief song. Glory to the meek, glory to the body trodden underfoot, glory to the soft light of morning beckoning us heavenward. Glory to the silence and the outrage, the quiet violence that dare not speak its name, but speaks ours in our darkest hour and says our time is spent. Oh, but the sleeplessness, the heartache, Generations of it pooling at our feet, a Red Sea with no parting. They don't know. When you shoot a black body, you shoot an invocation, hands up, don't shoot. A nexus of clapping hands, hands up, don't shoot. A conjuring of spirits, hands up, don't shoot. A wellspring, hands up, don't shoot. But the blood that spills is holy water, hands up, don't shoot. They don't know of the joy and the bellyache and the burial grounds and the ring shout and the waking fear and the restless bones and the withering spines and the ancestors and the sacrifice and the give and the gift and the grief that has no name but will swallow yours whole. They don't know the price of the ticket and yet they still want to ride. My mother has a voice. My father has a face. When I was born, they named me Unity so that in me they will never be apart. And I can know that should all else fail, I have earned my namesake. The work. To love unconditionally, to love unendingly. I only have love, so I give it unsparingly until my chest is empty and I'm collapsing into myself in parts. Then the God of small things takes me and breaks me, and there is more love to give. Glory to the miracle of love that is unceasing. To know that the cup runs over, and when it is empty, it will be filled again. Glory to the miracle of two hands, one for receiving and one for letting go. Glory to the humility that meekness brings. Glory to the knees that cannot straighten. There is a seat for you at the table of the undying. When they come for you, let them know that you have known good love and have loved well and therefore have nothing to fear. Let them know how your voice was a piercing cry all through the black night of your existence, that the tears fell even when unbeckoned, that you unzipped your sternum and made of yourself a safe haven and will not let any frail thing be turned away. Let them know that you were broken bread and spilt wine, holy, 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 thrice blessed and thrice favored. Let them know that where they bury you, there will grow seeds.
You see,
I love you.
I love you. Thank you for that. Holy, 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 holy,
Holiest of
holy,
holies. Thank you.
holy. Thank you.
Let's
Oh,
clap,
God.
everyone. Let's clap. Oh, thank you both. What a gift. Thank you for
Thank you,
letting us into
Melissa.
your special friendship circle.
Thank you for having us. What a gift you've given us for giving us a chance to meet these babies again. Thank
Yeah,
you.
truly. Thank you so much.
I'd love to open the floor for questions if anyone wants to pick the brains or just share the love and the joy, please. Please do. You can raise your hand. You can type it in the chat if you're feeling shy. And if we don't see you, then you can just unmute yourself and start talking.
And my partner's here, so I have to say it that we don't bite, we just nibble. I promise. You can ask us any questions at all.
I'm gonna throw a
Plus one.
very easy one. How did you two meet and become such amazing poetry friends? It seems like a destined friendship, this one. I'd love to know in a short version.
Yo, chum.
It's a great question.
Take it away. I think
Yes.
we've been orbiting each other's circles for a really long time. A lot of our friends are friends with one another, and a lot of our lovers are lovers with one another. And I've been following Kopano's for a while since they work with Anybody Zine. And it's the first time that I saw anyone do really rigorous scholarly work that just made it seem incredibly sexy at the same time. And I was like, firstly, wow, who are you? Secondly, how do I worm my way into knowing you? And then I remember following you on Facebook. Ooh, Facebook. Wow, blast from the past. And then, and then, oh, and then you were just so free with your thoughts, all of your thoughts to me on the internet. And then I said, wow, this person really is it. Kopano really said tongues untied. You know what I mean? So I said, okay, also me, I want my tongue untied. How did we meet, Kopano? Wow.
Wow, now it's so great to hear that story from your perspective. Because
Mm.
Because for me, I think it's similar to you. Like we'd been orbiting. I knew of you, respected you. Also, just like this figure who had like yeah, just done amazing things, editing Thereby Bitch magazine. I was like, damn, okay, that's that's cute. But I think the first time we met actually, no, this couldn't have been. But like this, the strongest memory that I have is meeting you in Cape Town when you were working on Everything Is,
Oh,
and we met
yes.
at Neighborhood with a friend of
Oh,
ours,
God.
Mbuyo, and you were just like you wanted to tell us that like, hey, like your writing's like in my book, and is that cool? And I was like, what are you talking about? I have no writing. He's like, no, that Facebook post, yeah, it's in my book. And I was like, damn, that's cool. So that's my strongest memory, and also that feeling of like I was really like taken aback that like how seriously you took me because maybe I didn't take myself so seriously or like not seriously, but like you were like you're doing things, and I was like, damn,
Yes.
thank
I
you.
was citing you, bitch. I was signing you.
So yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I said before, like your way of like weaving people into your writing, as a like a real practice of communing and communitying, because it's through that I think we became people to one another. So yeah, it's all Manuel's fault, unfortunately.
I take all the credit. Yes. Give it all to me. Yeah. And
Oh,
also, we're both from Benoni. We're both from Benoni.
Doug,
And
important
we're
information.
very important information to just foreground. We are both East Rand bitches, and I
Y'all don't know about foot
appreciate.
skating 101.
No, but nobody. What do you know about Crazy Monkey? What do you know
Yep.
about the Bunny Park? What do you know? Nothing.
beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Jacques, your hand is up next.
Wow, it was an extraordinary reading, you guys. It was like it was something between a conversation and a ritual and something else that think I can't find the word for right now. But I want to ask something about this. I don't know, it's difficult to put these things into words, but this very thin line between the sacred and the profane. So you have this you have sacred language and at the same time things that clearly are meant to push boundaries. And somehow there's this idea of the sacred that I think it has to do with that the body, it's this idea of the body that the more it's broken, and even though it can be broken and violated, it becomes more sacred somehow. And I know, yeah, I don't know if you want to say something about that aesthetic. I'll leave it there. It's very
Yeah.
Do you
beautiful. It's
wanna
very
do you wanna
effective. It's very moving.
do you
I'll
wanna take do
I'll
you wanna
leave it.
take it as our somatic residence in cutie in chief? And then I can talk about I could I can talk about the divine and the sublime, and you can talk about the somatic.
Oh, please. Yes, please. Thank you for that question. That's a very beautiful question, Jacques. Wow.
Mm.
Um, for me, I mean, I grew up very Christian, and it's still a very big part of my life. So this, like the presence of sacrality, has always been around. And my first kind of encounter with like poetics was in church, like just the verses. And this was the first, and also like this the spokenness, because I find that with my writing, it cannot exist without the live, the spoken that affects and determines a lot of the meter. Um, so there's something about my upbringing in the church, which for me was very radical, because like the Jesus that we were talking about was like the Jesus that was turning up tables in the church, saying, "Don't make this a place of commerce," and telling people not to pay their taxes, and hanging out with sex workers. And a kind of a group of unmarried men, which is like, okay, that's just like a walking grinder situation from the biblical period. Like, let's just be real. But I guess like when it comes to like the semantics of it, for me, like the representation of Jesus, like there's the problematic whiteness and whatever, but the representation that I grew up with was this really graphic imagery of his body on the cross, and it's for me like it's super. It visualizes and epitomizes, I think, what you're talking about, Jacques, this line, because there's something both profane about that image, but it is held up as sacred, right? There's the profanity um,
Yes.
of what it of the event that it represents, but there's also the profanity of the representation, right? It can be read very erotically, right? It's like barely dressed and like super like six pack and situation. So it's for me, it's like the sacred and the profane is like built in
So no, no,
to
no, no
the.
breakage, no sacred.
Say that again.
No, no breakage, no sacred, no sacredness.
Exactly.
Voila, there's without the breakage, there is not the possibility of this transcendence, right? And I think in a way, maybe Maneo and I's kind of erotic fixation is because it is it's a somatic vehicle to traversing a certain boundary. So if you're like in sexual play with one person, several people, and there's like good conversation, like you can go places that on your own without that context cannot be reached. So there's something about that ecstasy, that ecstatic, that also exists for me in religious spaces. And this comes from also like not just the representation of Christianity or religion or sacredness, but also being in sacred spaces and singing together and reading together and
Mm.
taking uh, taking part of the sacrament.
Mm.
The physicality of that and what it produces um, is such an interesting, and for me also like highly erotic, because like the church traditions that we come from that are so, well, let me not say we and be lazy, but that I come from, that a lot of Black people come from, and I think a lot of South Africans beyond just the Black community, we grew up in religious contexts often that are very ecstatic. So there's a lot of singing,
Mm.
there's a lot of bodying happening, And there's this really beautiful book by, I think it's Patrick E. Church. I might be misremembering this. It's called Sweet Tea. And basically it's like a kind of ethnography of gay men in the South, in the United States of America. And he talks about how these gay Black men are all in the church, and they talk about their gayness as catching the spirit. And that for me is like the goes back to Maneo's um, epigraph that they read at the beginning from John chapter ban, that if you were of the
15.
world, then it would
Claim you as its own.
if you were of the world, it would
Yeah.
love you. It would claim you as
Yeah.
your own. Now
Yeah.
there it is. So
Yes.
that kind of like yeah, I find it a very productive, constructive
Mm.
friction that you speak to, Jacques, between the supposedly sacred and the supposedly profane and how they necessitate one another. That's enough words for me. Mano?
Jumping onto you, I think where where the the sacred and the profane touches in language. So my father is Catholic and comes from a Catholic tradition. My mother's a Jehovah's Witness, and both of them are quite extreme in their asceticism and in their denial of the impulse of the body and impulses of the body and flesh and like and things. But then when you look closely, especially in Catholic traditions, like the Passion of the Christ and the word passion, that the root of passion is suffering, that it is about suffering. And I found such deep resonance in number one, like, and linking the erotic, the ecstatic, the divine to religious and queer traditions, but just etymologically, it just made a lot of sense to me because language is where everything starts and ends with me. And
Mm.
when I made that connection, everything became so much queerer, not because I made it queer, but because it already is. And it was so obvious to me. And then the deeper level of the body, and especially with the ways in which my eros was starting to manifest itself, especially in kink spaces, and when it comes to pain and suffering, that I'm both a sadist and a masochist, and have been dabbling within BDSM communities for the better part of a decade now. And it was the first time inside of those spaces that there was language for a kind of ecstasy that was very close to in language. The listening to people in church, like catching the spirit and more, yeah. That subspace a lot for me was the first time that I was able to encounter God and a sense of the divine in my own body by what it could take, and not just the pain that it would take, how I could transmute pain into pleasure. And yeah, if that's a way to answer you,
That's
it was
amazing.
it's just in stripping back what was already there, that these traditions are already so queer, already so queer.
Yes,
Mm.
I got you. It's
I see
great.
questions also in the chat too.
Hmm. There's
Tebogo has
one for each.
yeah, okay. So if one question for me says, Maneo, reflecting on your working, turning 5 years, what have you learned about yourself, and how do you reconcile your growth without any shame? It's a great question. And showing empathy for those past moments. I battle quite intensely with shame. I think shame, one way to read everything is a deathly flower is a journey out of shame, or a map that I'm trying to make for myself out of shame. Um, one of my friends loved to say that shame is the one thing that kills magic, and shame deadens us in these incredibly insidious ways. And coming from quietly and also explicitly queerphobic religious traditions, I started to view my own survivorship as a mark on me. And now that this sweet angel is turning 5, I'm very proud of the ways I was able to create a little step ladder for myself out of a very deep spiral. Because you can sense the downward pull in this book. I have such compassion for the little baby that wrote this book, because wow, I was clawing myself out of some really heavy shit. So yeah, that's a fantastic question. Thank you so much for it. Kopano, there's a question for you also.
I see. But yeah, thank you for that. That was really, you're so smart, but you're also so, I don't know what the word is. So smart, but then so smart in flesh, in fleshed intelligence, which I, so hot. Anyway, so my question from Debo, Kopano, what inspires you to continue to be so open and authentic without the fear of being perceived? And which writers do you revisit that remind you of the bravery you embody or want to embody? Meet. Yo, Debo didn't come to play with people's children. Thank you, Debo. Um, damn. I think, hmm, I've never, I don't have a stock answer for this, unfortunately. So now I have to actually think. No, I think it all starts with like hunger, like we were talking about. Like I have a desire to be known, and to know others, and to, as Maneo so beautifully says, to become fluent in each other, which is something that the amount of times I quote you, Babs. But I think it's that desire to be fluent in others, and to for others to have the possibility to become fluent in me is what kind of pushes this trying to be open and trying to be authentic and trying to also take lessons from our ancestors. Who, I think it's Joy James who says this thing about um act, 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 hmm, appreciating our ancestors who loved us so much that they refused to lie to us. um and she's there speaking politically, and I try to take that quite seriously, like looking at the kind of the reality for Black people and the lives that we live, and then the narratives that we're sold, that like if we buy into kind of like white neoliberal capitalism, there's a way in which we can buy ourselves out of the kind of social stigmatization that we experience, which goes far deeper than that. So then the people that are speaking authentically to that and saying that there must be a possibility for us that does not require our obliteration by white capitalism. I think is something that on a political level then informs the way that I try to work. And which writers do you visit remind you of the brave? Oh, I definitely want to be brave. Joy James is definitely someone that I'm very busy with at the moment. She's an amazing political theorist. You can find a lot of her talks on YouTube. I listen to a lot of like political philosophy, liberatory theology theory via YouTube. So Joy James for sure. In terms of maybe poets, Lucille Clifton comes to mind.
I'm thinking
Sorry,
about
I just
You and Dinez specifically.
oh
Like
Denez, yeah,
Dinez Smith had a huge, we went through a large swath of time in which it was just, it was Dinez Smith and yeah, for you, not to just jump onto your thing, but
no,
I know it's
absolutely
there. Joy James and
deep
Dinez
within.
And Saidia, of course, for you.
This idea is so deep. So like interestingly
Maneo
enough, like
Mohale.
yeah, I think it's like a lot of writers that are writing from that are more considered to be like political writers. But yeah, Denise for sure as a poet as a poet. Yeah, I'll say Denise and George James for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Those were excellent questions in the chat as well. Okay, so I think, unless there's anyone with a very pressing final question, I think we're going to have to say we wrap up this part, tie a bow on it and all. Maneo, Kopano, thank you for treating us all with this glorious time with you. You've reminded me why I love poetry, and I'm jealous of your friendship, and I love you both, and I think you're amazing.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for having us. And
Thank you so much for having us.
I mean, I was thinking about it this morning that there's just no space that I feel as like instantly comfortable, and no group of poets that I am almost like I was racing to this day just to be with you all. And both of us are working on new things, and I can't wait for just to share and share and share. Um, you've created such an incredibly supportive community in such a time in which that's so vital. And thank you for everyone gathering into the space and watching our love fest, because honestly, this has been the highlight of I think my week, my month, I think my year. Thank you. Um, I I'm full of gratitude. I'm gonna sob a lot tonight. It's just I'm so full.
Big subs. Big gay subs. Thank you so much,
Big
Melissa. Thank
gay
you, Jacques,
sobs.
for the space, but also for the kind of like the continued like flexibility and softness and understanding in trying to bring this together. Also, thanks, Manel, for saying yes, for being for being who you are and for being who we are.
I'll always
Yeah,
say
thank you.
yes to you. I'll always say yes to you. An ocean of yes. A prayer in black tongue, Pippi. For real.
Yeah, so much love and so much love to everyone who joined. Thank you so much.